Welcome to the Breakup Recovery Podcasts by your host, Barbara Stevens. Discover the wisdom and remarkable insights of Barbara Stevens, breakup recovery mentor, author, and public speaker. Barbara offers programs and solutions for any breakup so you can turn your life around, create lasting changes for the better, and embrace life again.
Hello and welcome to Breakup Recovery Podcast. I'm Barbara Stevens and I'm a breakup recovery mentor. And in this episode, I have with me Honoree. So welcome, Honoree.
Hi, delighted to be with you, Barbara. Thank you for having me.
Now, Honoree, I believe you have a number of books that are available for people that are going through their breakup, separation or divorce. Would you like to tell me a little bit about them?
Oh, sure. Yes. So my first book in that arena was actually a book for single moms. So I wrote The Successful Single Mom, and that is a 6-book series now. And then I found a lot of men were writing to me and saying, I read your book, I'm pretending it's not pink and it's for me. And so I wrote The Successful Single Dad, and it's blue. And then I found a lot of people were interested in the advice that I might provide, but were divorcing still or did not have children. So I have 2 books specifically for people in different stages of divorce. So I have If Divorce is a Game, These Are the Rules. And that is for people who are going through the process of a divorce and they're just not quite sure how to manage it. And then I wrote The Divorced Phoenix, which is really for someone who is post-divorce or very close to being finally divorced and for about 2 or 3 years after.
That's a very interesting title. If divorce is a game, these are the rules. So tell me more about that book. So what people can learn if they choose to buy your book.
Well, a lot of it is about behaving yourself when you're going through a divorce, because it really is a time, as I'm sure you'll agree, where you're just kind of topsy-turvy, you're upside down, and sometimes run by emotion. And so having a guidebook that can help you to figure out who you need to assemble around you, who your team is, what you should fight over and what you shouldn't fight over. And if you need more help than someone else, and how to just kind of move through the process of divorce with your integrity and your self-esteem and your self-respect, and not saying or doing anything that you would look back on and do a facepalm, right?
Yes.
Yes. So I talk a lot in that book about just the guiding principles of going through a divorce, taking ownership of the process, recognizing that just because it's broken, it wasn't a lifetime marriage as you might have thought that it was, that this is not the end, and you can survive this process and come out the other side and be just okay. As a matter of fact, there is one thing about a divorce that you don't get in any other way, and that is a clean slate. If I just said today, I'm moving to Paris to learn French and write novels, everyone would look at me like I was crazy. But if I said I'm moving to Paris to learn French and write novels, and I said, and I just got a divorce, everyone would go, oh, right, yes, of course. Yeah. So there's a little bit of clean slate that happens, or a whole lot of clean slate that happens when someone goes through a divorce. And it's actually such a huge opportunity, but I don't think that we're taught to think about it as an opportunity, and we're certainly not taught how to talk about it.
I totally agree with you. Divorce can be that excuse, or not even an excuse, but it's a justification that you can start over again. So what tips would you give people who think, yes, that is a time that I can start over again? What tips would you give people to find that passion, to find what they can do?
Well, I think the first thing is you've got to heal from your divorce. So give yourself some grace and step away from judging yourself and judging your ex. Get to the place where if you don't feel great, you at least don't feel awful. Give yourself some time to heal. So in whatever way you can process through your divorce. I'm a big fan of Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way morning pages practice. I think journaling, writing things down, and then lighting the pages on fire or throwing them away, or saving them for 5 years from now is a really good process. You find yourself someone to talk to that has some skills in helping people to process through a divorce. And then finding out what you want to do is kind of an interesting process, because I found myself becoming one with my spouse, and we did everything together. And so the things that I was interested in doing, kind of that he wasn't, just kind of fell by the wayside. So you have an opportunity to go back and say, wait a minute, I always wanted to learn how to sew, or I always wanted to backpack around Europe or walk the Great Wall of China, and now I can do that. And sometimes it's just relearning about life you're interested in, because you no longer have to take someone else into consideration. Does that make sense?
Yes, totally. Is that something that you go into with your book, Divorced Phoenix?
Yes. So the Divorced Phoenix is one of my girlfriends actually gave me the title. It's very funny now. People go, Honoree, you should write this book. And here's the title. I'm like, do you have any idea what that means? To give someone that topic. But the Divorced Phoenix is about the clean slate that a divorce provides you, and then the encouragement to look at your divorce and your relationship and yourself with fresh, positive eyes, and then to discover what are the things that you really want to do and how are you going to make those happen.
It can be very easy for people to get caught up in all the negatives when they're going through a breakup, all the things that are going wrong, all the things that have been done, have been said, and then all the things that they worry about in their future. So having a book where people can learn that it is a way to start over again is very encouraging.
Yes. And so I encourage people to remember that they are number one, and to refocus their life on themselves, to practice extreme self-care. And I talk a little bit in the book about how we all have needs as a person. We have needs for touch, we have needs for conversation, for intellectual stimulation. And so in the absence of a marriage, what are the ways that you can get your needs met in a constructive way? And then how do you turn the pain of the divorce, because even a good divorce is still bad, right? It's like they say, even bad pizza is still pizza, right? So even the best divorce still has with it some self-reflection and some self-blame and some I failed, perhaps. And so you have to create a new vision, because when you got married, then you had that vision. This is what our life is going to be like forever. I think I've only met one person who said, well, I got married, but I told him if it wasn't good, if it didn't work out, I was out of here, right? Most people go into a marriage thinking, this is my person. This is who I'm going to spend the whole rest of my life with. We do not foresee that divorce coming. And so you have to take that vision intentionally and replace it with a new vision.
So how do people actually do that, Honoree?
I like to describe it as sitting down and daydreaming, but on paper. So as you're thinking about, okay, so I had this vision of us together forever. Now that vision is no longer. I'm coming to terms with that. What do I see myself doing in 10 years and 20 years and 50 years? And you create a vision from the perspective of no limitations. So time, money, space, there's no limit to you crafting your vision. It's just, what would you want to see happen if you could see anything happen with your life? What does it look like? And write that down. And so some people they type it or they write longhand. I'm more of a bullet point, short phrase kind of a gal myself. Jot some of those things down and let them marinate. You're not going to just design your new vision and go, okay, that's it, I'm in, and right off to it. It's going to take some getting used to form that new crystal clear picture in your head.
So it's a working document.
It can be. Absolutely.
And what a good idea for people to do this vision without any limitations, because so often we'll sit there, yes, I'd like to do this, or I want to do that, but I either don't have enough time, I don't have enough money. But if you can sit there and think about your future and what you want from your future with no limitations attached, can be such a creative process.
Yes, and you don't really know how the universe is going to conspire to bring you your vision because there were a lot of things that I said. So I'm happily married now for 9 years, again, to my second husband. I was single for 6.5 years in between marriages. And the whole time I said, this is what I want. And my girlfriend said, nope, that's never, you're too old. That'll never happen. There are no unmarried men in their late 30s that don't have children and horrible ex-wives. And I said, there's somebody out there and I'm going to find him. And sure enough, my husband had been married, but he divorced after a couple of years. He had been single, happily single, and going about his business for a really long time and had no children and was very happy to welcome my daughter as his daughter. And those were the things that I had put on my vision. And when I would share it with some of my friends, they would say, nope, you're asking too much. And I think that you can't ask too much.
Exactly, and limiting beliefs will crush your creativity and almost crush the vision and the future you deserve.
Correct. And if I had listened to them, I might be married to a very nice man with more children and a horrible ex-wife.
So tell me about your divorce.
Oh gosh, which aspect specifically is quite complex.
How you felt at the time and how you picked yourself up after your divorce.
So my divorce was a surprise. I had a 2-year-old. My husband was active duty in the military, in the Navy. I was crushed and relieved at the same time. I was not happy, but I hadn't been told that it doesn't have to be hard and it doesn't have to be miserable. So everyone says marriage is hard. And so if marriage is hard, everyone goes, oh, it's hard. Okay, it's supposed to be hard. Well, actually, it doesn't have to be hard or miserable. So I was actually relieved to be out of the misery. And I actually was crushed and felt like a failure because the marriage hadn't lasted. I took it as a sign that I was a failure, that there was something wrong with me. So I had kind of a conundrum. And I went through this phase of feeling exhausted all the time and thinking, okay, I'm just going to get a really good night's sleep. And then I am going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to feel amazing. And I would wake up tomorrow and it would be today and I didn't feel amazing. And so there was a period of time. And then I realized that I was kind of hoping that something would happen, but hope is not a strategy. I wasn't doing anything to make sure that I felt better. I was watching sad movies and wondering why I was sad instead of watching empowering movies. I wasn't listening to, back then, audio cassette tapes or CDs or audio programs that would inspire me. I wasn't reading positive books that would give me hope. So once I realized that, and I guess I'm a slow learner because I've been a coach and a motivational speaker and a writer for a long time. So you would think I would have the presence of mind, but I think that's part of the process of going through a divorce is you don't have that awareness always. So I love the concept of your podcast that people can listen to and get some inspiration from that. So once I started to take those actions, I started to do journaling and visualization and affirmations and reading. And I intentionally did some audio programs. So listening to some Jim Rohn or some Tony Robbins and kind of getting myself in a better state and exercising again. Because I'd always been an exerciser, but when you're depressed, you don't feel like exercising. And when you don't exercise, you get depressed because you're not releasing those chemicals. So once I just started one at a time, so it wasn't one day I was depressed and miserable and the next day I exercised and was motivated by Tony Robbins. It was a gradual adding on to the things that I knew made me feel better. Because we all know the things that make us feel amazing, the things that really touch our spirit. And so I knew what those things were, Barbara. I just wasn't doing them for a little while. And once I had a moment of sanity and I went, wait a minute, like you just had a conversation with someone on the phone. You just had a coaching session with someone and they were depressed. And you said, well, why don't you do something so that you don't feel depressed? And then I realized, oh, wait a second, I should probably eat my own dog food. I should probably take my own advice. Maybe I just had the phone call for me and not my client. And started taking these little actions. And so, sometimes it's just go for a walk for 10 minutes and then come back. Or pick up the phone and call someone and just say, I don't want to talk about what I'm upset about today. I want to talk about something that you're excited about. Give me some good news. or I want to watch something that's inspiring or engrossing or whatever. And it's those little baby steps, I think, that can pull you out of your funk, as it were, and help you to get going in the right direction.
Absolutely. That's an interesting concept that I think a lot of people forget, that if you're going to wallow in your self-pity, if you're going to think about all the bad things and all the things that have gone wrong, how do you make room to get better, to move forward? You've got to make that room, and you've got to take those steps to do it.
Yeah, it's a moment of sanity of saying, look, I'm in the wrong movie. I'm not, this is not feeling good. What can I do to feel good that is constructive?
Definitely.
So I could eat key lime pie. That makes me feel good for maybe 10 minutes. And then I'm going, oh dear, why did I put all that sugar and gross stuff in my body and yuck? And right. So it's that. But if I say, okay, I'm going to walk, I do 10,000 steps a day now. And my family just knows if it's 8:00 at night and I have 1,000 steps to go, I'm going to go walking for a few minutes. So it's starting with something little. If you have days where you just can't get out of bed, you're probably walking 300 steps. So go walk 2,000 steps, go walk around the block, or go walk around the mall, go get out among people. And, something interesting I didn't know about myself until much later is that I'm an introvert. So I recharge at home by myself. My husband is an extrovert and he recharges around people. So he gets depressed when he stays home and I get happy when I stay home. So you have to know yourself. If you're going through a divorce and you're an extrovert and you recharge your batteries by being around people, then go to a coffee shop, go to a diner, go somewhere, go walking where there are people. Even if you're not talking to people, you'll still recharge. And put yourself in those situations. And sometimes it's, I really don't want to do it. And you have this war with yourself and you go, well, I'm going to go. And if I'm there for 5 minutes and I'm miserable, I'm just going to leave and come home.
Honoree, if people want to read your book, where can they find it?
So all my books are on Amazon. And if someone wants to connect with me, they are welcome to send me an email. I'm always happy to add some sunshine to someone's day, so they can email me, honoree@honoreecorder.com.
Can we spell that, Honoree?
Oh, of course. HONOREE @ and then HONOREECORDER.com.
Thank you, Honoree, for coming on Breakup Recovery podcast. We definitely didn't cover everything that you have to offer, especially about your books with the successful single mum and the successful single dad. So if you're up for it, I'd love to have you back.
I would love it.
But thank you once again for coming on Breakup Recovery podcast, Honoree. You've given the listeners of this episode so many practical, helpful tips for them to move forward after their breakup.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you, Barbara.
If you feel that you are still struggling with your breakup, if you are experiencing intense feelings of anger, resentment and bitterness, and it is taking over your life, I'm here to help you in this area of moving on and coping after your breakup. I work with my clients one-on-one through my mentoring program. If you want to learn more about how we can work together, contact me via email or my Facebook page, Barbara Stevens Breakup Recovery Mentor, and book in for my free 30-minute sounding board session, and we can set up a time that suits. In this free session, you will walk away with clarity about your situation, strategies and tools to start building the future you deserve, so together we can start your journey of recovery. All my information is on my website, www.barbarastevens.com.au. If you don't want to miss an episode of Breakup Recovery Podcast, subscribe on iTunes, and I would appreciate it if you could take the time to write a review and rate the podcast. Also feel free to message me with any questions that you have about Breakup Recovery podcasts or subjects that you want me to cover in future podcast episodes by clicking on the contact button of my website or my Facebook page. I'm always looking for ways to help you recover from your breakup. And the last thing I'd like to say is, be gentle on yourself You deserve happiness.
If you would like to hear previous Breakup Recovery podcasts, visit barbarastevens.com.au. Connect with Barbara Stevens on social media with Barbara Stevens Breakup Recovery Mentor on Facebook and at You'll Be Okay on Twitter. Read further blogs, view webinar replays, and download your free ebook, 3 Easy Steps to Surviving Your Breakup, and much more at barbarastevens.com.au.